Hello and welcome to the Executive Edge podcast with Alex Mearns. I'm here today with Mary Barrett, who is an executive coach, lived in Singapore for 20 years, and originally is from the UK, and she's ex-corporate. She worked for Barclays in London and for BMW and set up her coaching business in 2004. She spent 15 years in Singapore and has recently just relocated to Portugal. But we have the pleasure of her company today as she's here on a mini business and holiday trip. Hello, Mary.
Thank you, Alex. And I'm so grateful for you to invite me onto your podcast. Thank you.
Pleasure. How are you enjoying Singapore now that you're not living
Alex,
anymore?
Singapore for me, because I was here nearly 15 years, I call it my heartland.
Yes.
You know, my children were born here. I love living here and coming back. So I've been away 16 months now, and it feels like the time was concertinaed that I never left as I'm walking around and reconnecting with the deep relationships that I made here and friends and get an opportunity to do some Mary B stuff too for the business. So it's been wonderful. Thank you.
Nice. So let's kick off straight away. I want to dive in at the deep end.
Great.
I mean, we have a relatively new coaching business. We're about 7 years old, but you've been doing this for 20 years.
Well, actually 30, but
30 years. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Obviously, I started when I was 5 years old, as I tell everybody.
yeah, that's right. So let's dive straight into it. I'm interested to know, what kind of clients do you work with? Give us your typical sort of demographic.
Yeah. It's really interesting because, as you can imagine, in the 30 years that I've been a coach, as somebody said to me recently, about 5 years ago, they said, "Oh, so you were a coach before it was popular to be a coach?" I went, "Yes, that's correct." So I would say it's shifted and changed as I've shifted and changed. You know, I'm an eternal student. I love to learn and grow. I love to skill stack. So I would say presently my main clients that I attract, and like 98% of my clients are through recommendation, are your high achievers. The people that are really looking to be the best that they can be in whatever field that is. And that could be a CEO, it could be an executive, it could be an entrepreneur, it could be a head of business for a school. You know, I would say the big title is high achievers, people that really want something more and know they can be something more and just want some help and guidance along the way.
Don't the high achievers, do they recognise that they're stuck? Or...
Yeah, again, we can generalise. The ones that come to me, what they say, the common denominator is, I know if I could just let go of this or just work on this, I know this would be easier. Yeah. So not all, I mean, or you do get on the other end of the scale, and maybe this is more of a lot of your clients as well, Alex, is they get to burnout. They get to, oh my God, if I don't get a sabbatical soon, or they get redundancy, or a life event goes, okay, now I need to do something. So as we find, people can tend to be more reactive than proactive about it, for sure.
So I always think that in order for someone to embark on coaching or take on the services of a coach, they need to be aware that there's a problem or a blockage or maybe a goal, and they need to be willing to do something about it. So it's awareness and willingness. So with your typical clients, your high achieving clients, what's the awareness and why are they willing?
That's a really good way of putting it, actually. One, as I always say, I don't take any prisoners. You've got to want to do it. There's no point in coming to see a coach if you don't want to put the work in. Same as if you went to the gym.
Yes.
You've got to put the work in to get the results. So, you know, I don't take any prisoners. I take people that want to learn and grow. And through that process, it's really about getting them to raise their self-awareness and building their self-regulation to help them manage their emotions better, to get their results better. But I think the clients that I would suggest come for two reasons. Either there is a problem and they need help with it, or they have a goal that they want to work on. So there's two main areas I would suggest from my experience.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And we have exactly the same problem goal, but there's one more on the personal training side of things where it's pain. So
Yes.
people have back pain,
Yes.
neck pain, they want to get out of pain, right?
Yeah.
And then the progression from that is they have a problem. You know, it's a postural issue. Maybe it's a weight loss issue,
Correct.
right? You know, they're stiff and tight, no pain, but
Yeah.
they're just not very functional, right?
Yeah.
Out of shape,
Yeah.
unfit. And then they progress to
Interesting.
the positive, the goal. So but now I'm thinking about it, we can actually apply this to the coaching side of things because there's an emotional pain, right? Are you thinking the same? Yeah?
Exactly the same. You're echoing my thoughts exactly, Alex. People come to me because they are in pain, but it's an emotional pain. And we know that the mind and body is connected.
Yeah.
You know, I was saying earlier, Kathy Burke, the great actress,
Yes.
the British actress, she said, I didn't sort myself out until my 30s when I had a checkup from the neck up.
Yes.
And so, we have to work on here to get this to work as effectively as it can too.
Yeah, exactly. So people work through, I guess, on any kind of coaching journey or talk therapy, you're going to work from some emotional pain where the stronger negative emotions are more present, grief, despair, fear, anger, shame, all that. And then working your way through and up to sort of, I don't know, blame, disappointment, and then up to contentment. And then that's problems. And then we're into goals.
Yeah.
Right? Which is joy, love,
Yeah.
happiness,
Correct.
positive expectation, belief, all that kind of stuff.
But people haven't got that, I'm generalising, but I found that people haven't got that amount of self-awareness when they come to me. A major part of my role is educating, doing psychoeducation, to raise their awareness about if I am feeling disappointment, failure, shame, whatever it is, where's that coming from? Yeah. And because as we know, all of us as human beings, work in progress, as I say, we're human beings, work in progress every day. What we tend to do as humans is drag our past and throw it out into our future. So actually a lot of the work that I do is enabling people through the ginormous toolkit I've built up over the last 30 years to let go of the past, whether that's the pain, physical pain or the emotional pain, embrace the now, and then we can design the future. But we've got to let that go. So I always use the visual, the metaphor. If you think about it, if you're in a car, you've got this great big screen in front of you that's giving you this massive, great big future. But so many people are living their lives looking in the rearview mirror, which is only this big. So our role, as coaches, is saying, right, what's the vision? Let's look at the big, wider picture here, and what do we need to release? One of my toolkits, as you're probably aware, is hypnotherapy, also EMDR. So there's all things to help you, and neuro-linguistic programming. So a lot of these tools help you.
EMDR, sorry to interrupt.
Correct.
Yes, okay.
Correct. Yeah. So used for PTSD and traumas,
yes.
But I use it in a variety of ways, actually. But it's about what is it that's happened in the past that's stopping me, keeping me stuck from where I want to go in the now and the future.
No, I totally agree and understand, because it's particularly those traumatic we should clarify when we use the word trauma. A lot of people think, well, I haven't had a traumatic event. But actually, it can be something seemingly quite minor, but the body might experience it. So we use trauma as a catch-all word for
100%.
Anything which wasn't a particularly pleasant experience, really.
Exactly.
Which has created some sort of default behaviour pattern as a way to protect us.
Exactly.
And my greatest story I heard on this, and it's a very powerful one, but basically, in a tribal ancestral environment, the mother takes the baby down to the river to fill up her pail of water, and the crocodile jumps out of the water and eats the baby. Probably one of the most traumatic experiences you could ever live, right? And that is to send a very powerful message which will be passed on epigenetically through the generations, that be bloody careful around the river, right? And so it is part of our human self-defense mechanism. But once we've got over a certain point, we don't need it anymore.
And that's it. And I really believe the work that I do is helping people create the now and the future. Like, who do you want to be now? What identity do you want now? What belief systems do you want now? Because that was way back then. What that person told you about yourself at 12 years old, you're a managing director. Yeah. That's not true anymore.
Yeah.
So let's get go of that. So I work a lot with the unconscious mind, which is 90% of our mind, because we have so many narratives going on, haven't we, about stories that we're telling ourselves.
Yeah.
And we have to be really careful about the words, that inner dialogue, the words we use to ourselves, how we use to describe ourselves to ourselves, and therefore the external person.
Yeah. So when you say that to that director, that happened when you were 12, so you don't need to hang on to that SHIT anymore.
Yeah.
He logically, he knows exactly what you're saying. Consciously, he or her know exactly what you're saying. But it doesn't change the default behavior. until you get into the subconscious and rewire it.
You couldn't have said it better to me.
So how do you do that?
But they know, so the clients that are attracted to me and come to me through recommendation, they know that one of my toolkits is hypnotherapy, which speaks 100% to the unconscious mind. And so that's part of the premise. That's part of the negotiation. That's part of the conversation we have. That's part of the added value you get from me. Because exactly that, as you know, there's a lot of coaches that work at surface level and you don't get significant sustainable change. If you need to let something go, you absolutely need to go into the unconscious mind and unblock it, release it to allow it to go. So absolutely. And in fact, what I found from experience, the most cynical people are about going into the unconscious mind sometimes have the best results.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you can't really predict how quickly someone can respond, right?
And also sometimes they can't believe it's happened so quickly because it's happened so quickly. But Mary, I've had this for 20 years and now it's gone. Yeah. That's right, it is gone.
So I'm going to just ask you a little bit more because I'm not that familiar with hypnotherapy, but I did read Bruce Lipton's book, Biology of Belief, when he talks about the tape player, that our subconscious mind just being a dumb tape player, and we end up repeating things that don't serve us anymore because of what's happened in our past. It could be our childhood, it could be adolescence, whatever. Yeah. And he said basically his conclusion towards the end of the book, spoiler alert, was basically there's only two ways to do it, and that's one is through meditation and hypnotherapy. He said meditation takes bloody ages. Right? And hypnotherapy is quick. Now, I've explored a lot of different types of energy healing, like applied kinesiology, Reiki, craniosacral therapy, emotional freedom technique, tons and tons of different ones, right? And I was always interested in, is there a way we can get rid of or exorcise negative emotions without reliving them? Okay. Yep. So, for example, when you go to a traditional psychologist, they're going to drag, what's the relationship with your mom or your dad, and it's all going to come up, right? Now, and I'm going through different ways of thinking about this, right? And different sort of theories. But when you go through hypnotherapy, do you drag up these feelings or not?
Okay. Loads of things you said there.
You experience them, yeah.
Lots of things there I want to come back to. Number one, my favourite quote from Dr. Bruce Lipton is, because it's true, your life is a printout of your thoughts.
Yes.
And why is that? And we're both Dr. Joe Dispenza fans.
Yes.
He tells us we have 50,000 thoughts every day approximately, and they're the same as ones we had yesterday and the day before. And the day before. Now, why are thoughts so important? Because thoughts make us feel a certain way. When we feel a certain way, we behave a certain way, and then we get the result. And I'm going to use the word positive or negative, okay? And we go round that cycle, So what hypnotherapy does, it allows you to change your thoughts without having to relive the trauma. One of the things on my journey, like you, I've done lots and lots of modalities. And I started off in counselling, just a little course that I thought, this quite interests me. And I thought there could be nothing worse than coming week on the week and just talking about all the pain. Because talking about the pain doesn't remove the pain. It brings your awareness to it, what it is, where it's come from. But part of my fundamental methodology is, okay, that's what's happened. What do you want instead? What would you like instead? Let's work on that. And let's, as you know, you're in an energy person like me, let's give our energy to where we want to go and what we do want rather than what we don't want. So it starts with our thoughts. And so we can actually go into your unconscious mind and have a bit of a play around with it. And, people say, oh my goodness, that thing that happened to me when I was 12 or 15 years old. I've got, again, lots of tools in my toolkit, like timeline therapy is another great one.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's a wonderful one. Like you go back in time in a very safe way. We set it up, very safe. So you're always safe. You go back in time and you just think of that younger person and you're disassociated. So you're not reliving it. Because if you're talking about it, you're associated with it all the time. And we have to learn to take you through disassociation. And then you think about that younger you. What resources did you need, emotional resources did you need at that time, you just didn't have access to because you're only 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever age you are. And, even one session of timeline therapy, as you probably know, massive impact. You can let go of so much. And then you take that new belief system now, because that's the other thing. What's a thought and what's a belief? A belief is just a thought over and over again. And the story I like to talk about that, Alex, is, and I don't know if you've had the advantage that I have to go to Western Australia down to Margaret River.
I have.
One of our favourite family holidays.
Lovely, isn't it?
Oh my God, when I live there. But I live in a very similar place now in Portugal, so I'm very happy. Another dream came true. And I don't know if you ever went to the caves. The caves, all right, so there's these beautiful caves they discovered, and you go down and there are these beautiful, one in particular called the Lake Cave, and it's got all these stalagmites and stalactites. Now, as you know, I'm not a scientist, but the scientists and geologists will tell you they are hundreds of years old, these, because it's drip, 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 drip. But that's like thoughts. We drip, drip, drip a thought, and eventually it becomes a belief. But like a stalagmite or stalactite, and I'm not asking anybody to do this, you break that off and it can never be the same again. And that's what hypnotherapy does. It reprograms, it rewires, it allows you to experience life at a very different level than what we've had in the past. Now, there's some great things that have happened to people in the past. Fabulous. Let's amplify, magnify, intensify those. But if there's stuff that's holding you back from way back when, we have one and only life.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of it.
Just like a surgeon going in and removing a cancerous growth, which can often be emotionally fueled, I have found.
Well, mind-body connection, 100%.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's interesting. Yeah. So when I was initially looking at this, I felt that, let's just get rid of this stuff and not experience it. And then I've done a lot of work on myself, and I see a person that I talk to. Yep. I'm not quite sure what you could call them exactly, but it's all talk therapy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't really care what their title is, as long as they have the skills to ask me the right questions, which I'm not asking myself, to get me to think.
Correct.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Then I'll pay you. You know what I mean?
You've said when somebody says,
yeah,
I haven't ever thought about it in that way before.
Yeah.
That's a life-changing moment.
Yeah, I just want as many of those as possible. And I contracted with this guy saying, you've got to look at my blind spots and ask me these questions, because that's how you open that new pathway.
Well, which goes back to what I said earlier, change your thinking.
Yeah.
So as soon as you change the way how you think about something, it would change the way you feel about it. It would change your behaviour, and it will get different results.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, it sounds so simple, Alex. It's a process flow chart.
Actually, the Dalai Lama said this as well, and
there you are.
I wrote it down, and it just came to me when he said that. But he basically said, I can't remember. It's like, how do you manage to stay so calm or something like that? And he said, my thoughts, my feelings, my deeds, and my actions are all congruent.
See, there you are, and you got it from Mary here too.
It's something like that anyway.
But I think, to be honest with you, Alex, some people, there's lots of things here, and I don't know what you found with your practice. One, some people think it can't be that easy, and I'm not saying it's easy, because you have to be proactive with your thoughts. The easiest thing in the world is to wake up feeling negative, fed up. You don't have to work at that, do you? You don't have to work at that. But if you want to be proactive and change your thinking, you have to work, like going to the gym, you have to work on it.
Yeah.
So it's important that you realise it can be done, but you have to be proactive about it.
No, I totally agree. And the very first coach I worked with, I actually engaged her to help me with high cholesterol at the time. This was maybe 12 years ago. She was based in Switzerland. And the first thing she had me doing was, first thing in the morning, waking up and thinking about a very positive experience in order just to align me mentally. So I'd always think about a family skiing trip, because they were always a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly.
And like going down the slopes with my boy and stuff.
Well,
like
if you think about that, immediately then you've set the tone for the day. You've set the tone for the day. I mean, I've got many, many rituals that I do on a daily basis. And one of them is, as I open my eyes and I turn my side and I get out of my bed, for each of my feet, I go, thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. Because if you start with gratitude, which is a massive part of my inner being, because what you appreciate...
That's the highest vibrational feeling, isn't it?
Correct. So because what you appreciate appreciates.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the interest on interest.
Yeah.
And so, and waking up saying thank you. And this is one of the reasons when I first learned. So I first learned about the unconscious mind in 1999 when I started my neurolinguistic programming training. And at that time, that was over a 6-month period, not like a week and you go and get it and now you're certified. So it was brilliant in London, in Chelsea actually. And I just, remember that if you are kept alive overnight by the power of your unconscious mind, your heart's working, your lungs are working, your digestive system is working, you don't have to go, excuse me, make sure you work tonight when I go to sleep. If that's what our unconscious mind is doing for us, that tells you the power of it. We haven't even tapped into the unconscious mind. We know that much still yet about it.
Yeah. So going back to the hypnotherapy, so I haven't tried it myself. And initially I was quite drawn to it because let's just get rid of all the nonsense in my head which doesn't serve me anymore and let someone else do that. And that seemed like a very nice way to sort of, lance the boil without sort of dealing with the mess, right? But now I've done a lot of work personally and with coaches on myself, going back to my childhood, and quite interesting. And I used the same approach that we learned at the Czech Institute, and basically what we learned in what we do in coaching at Levitize, which is basically peeling the onion. So you work on whatever's bothering you now, and then you get down to the inner core, right?
Yeah.
And so I've done a lot of work on myself, and I've gone all the way back to a very, very key moment in my life when I was 1.5 years old, which is quite interesting because the hippocampus is not even formed until we're 4. So shouldn't technically, scientifically, have any memories of that. But I've got very strong memories in my head.
Yeah.
And going back through those, I don't know if... I don't like to use the word traumatic events because it's... has connotations, but we've discussed it.
Or emotionally disturbing events.
Yeah, emotionally disturbing events. Emotionally unpleasant events.
That made you, something that as a result of which has made you play small.
Exactly, yeah, and created some fault.
Yeah.
So going through that, obviously I've experienced those emotions, and I think that is the point. I'm supposed to relive them, to really understand them, and become it could be just my journey, but for me, and to become aware of them, so then I can move on from them. And I actually loved the process. And when I now have conversations, and maybe there's something, there was something buried down there, I did not know how to. I feel a bit sad, actually. And it's like I feel the sadness, but I'm not like, this sucks. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird, right? It's like, I'm feeling these negative thoughts, but I'm also very cool about it. And afterwards, I just feel amazing. And I feel like I'm constantly...
evolving.
It's really...
Totally.
So I love it.
Yeah.
And often say to clients who maybe they're working with some of my coaches and they're like, I don't know, we could be going here, but I'm struggling. I was like, let's just do it. It's not so bad. It's like thinking about exercising for the first time.
Yes.
You don't want to do it, but actually once you've done it, everyone feels amazing.
Everyone.
No one ever says that was a bad training session, right? Or a bad workout.
Correct. Yeah. Nobody. Exactly.
Yeah.
A few things there, Alex, that you said. First, I think hypnotherapy is one of my modalities. I've got, as I say, huge toolkit. We're straight, I call it black and white coaching too, neuro-linguistic programming, etc. But I think what you've identified there from your story and your journey is accepting those feelings. Accepting that was the journey, but accepting is a breakthrough in itself. And actually, it's important. We can't be happy clappy all day, every day. That wouldn't be normal either.
Actually, you're right. That's a good point. I've only just realised that. That was my journey, to learn to feel.
There you are.
Because being British, keeping a stiff upper lip and shoving it all down there in a box, we're not learning anything.
No, and so it is about learning. So, but acceptance, and accepting, like recognising, I feel a bit sad today. Oh, I wonder why that might be. Again, one thing you highlighted there, which is really important for a great coach, is the quality of the questions you ask yourself is the quality of the answers you'll get. So whether it's self-asked questions, or it's a bit like Google. If you put crap questions into Google, you'll get crap answers. Same with this computer up here, So I think acceptance of, this is how I feel, this is where I'm okay. What I don't want is self-pity parties that you stay stuck there. Like, I'm sad and therefore I'm going to be sad now for the next 2 weeks. Because I often say, Alex, and I don't know how you feel about this, but sometimes I feel that people haven't got the memo. You're only here the once. So if you're spending time on a self-pity party, you're losing out. What could be around the corner could be really wonderful for you. So yes, accept it. Have an awareness, accept it, and then take some action and move on.
Yeah, totally agree. So I'm interested, we've talked a bit about coaching, and I would just like to compare a little bit about coaching to other traditional therapies. So, and this is when I thought about this in our business. So originally we had the personal training, and we were looking at kind of nutrition and health advice, health coaching like that. And then we expanded it more into the mental health and mental wellness and emotional wellness, which happened naturally. And the reason it came about is because it was about, 6-7 years ago, and I was on holiday with some friends. And one of my friends that I'd known since I was 20, when I worked with in London and he flew out from London, and he'd had some issues when he was younger. And I said to him, "How are you doing with that stuff?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I've been seeing a psychologist for 6 years or 7 years or something like that regularly." Oh, okay, great. So you must have made a hell of a lot of progress. I mean, if you've been working with a personal trainer for 6-7 years, you should be pretty ripped by now, right?
That's a great analogy. I really like that.
Yeah,
look at my core.
Exactly. We actually know it's not that easy, but But if only.
Yeah.
But and that evening we obviously had a few drinks, went on holiday, and that evening he started doing the same stupid stuff that he used to do when he was younger. And I was thinking, wow. 7 years of working with a psychologist, and now I don't know the depth of his issues, right? Because we're kind of just mates. You don't, blokes don't really go that deep, and I don't know who he saw and what it was, but it did made me think: is there another way? And then I started looking at it, all right, and all the different kinds of what do we call them? Talk therapists or coaches or whatever. Someone you talk to, right? And so we've got like psychotherapists, counselors, psychologists, therapists, life coaches, executive coaches. So, but I think maybe what you'd be referred to as an executive coach.
Well, I'll share
I want to know
you.
what the.
Okay, great.
I want to know what the difference is.
All right.
And
okay.
Who do I go and see?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I hear you. Because okay. So really interesting, because a few years ago in Singapore, I was at a networking event, and as part of this networking event, which I love networking events because I always go to give and always go to connect. So like, who can I? It's not about me; it's about who can I connect. And anyway, the facilitator got us to do an exercise at this event, and we had to do sort of like an elevator pitch, and we had to come up with a way to describe what we do, which would evoke a question. So not saying I'm Mary the mind coach, or I'm Sasha the occupational therapist. It had to be something that actually, or I'm Sharia, I'm the CFO. It had to be something that would evoke a response. And I'm sitting there going, oh my goodness, what am I going to say?
This is a good idea. I might write this
Write it down. It's really, really good, Alex.
Yeah.
And I'll explain more. Anyway, so I thought, oh my God, what is it I can say? Meanwhile, this lady stands up and gives her example. And she said, good evening, everybody. My name's Rebecca, and I shoot people for a living. She's a photographer.
Yeah, cool.
I love that. So then I'm going, it's going to be my turn next. You're sitting there in the chair thinking, what am I going to say? And at the time, I was watching a fabulous Netflix series called Live to Lead. And they've got 6 modern-day leaders, one's passed on now, but 6 modern-day leaders who are doing great things in the world. All episodes worth watching. But there was one I particularly enjoyed the most. I tease he's my next husband. There's this chap an African-American called Brian Stevenson. And Brian Stevenson's reason for being, he's a lawyer. All he does is get wrongly convicted prisoners off death row. People that have been incarcerated. In fact, one had been incarcerated for 27 years for a crime he did not commit.
Wow.
Hasn't any family. This is his reason to be on this earth.
He's raised on
death row. He's found his purpose.
Yeah. For
sure. So I was watching that and I thought, what is it that I do? What is it that Mary does? And after watching this program with Brian Stevenson, who is way up there, obviously.
I know what you're going to say.
I release people from the prisons of their mind. That's it. Because people have they've either been incarcerated or more times than not, they incarcerate themselves by telling themselves, I'm not good enough, I've got imposter syndrome, I can never do this, I haven't got the confidence. Or they're better than me, they can do it, I can't do it. Oh my goodness. And so in fact, so that's what I say now. I release you from the prison of your mind. Always evokes a response, and actually got a lot more work because of it.
That's perfect. No, I'm going to have to come up with an elevator pitch myself. Mine is a bit pedestrian now compared with yours. Yeah. So how does that? So how would what the work you do differ then? Go back to my question.
Sorry. Okay. So the field that I'm in, we call it short-term therapy. Okay. So that's why it's hard. I'm not somebody. People call me a life coach. I'm not a life coach. I'm not.
I don't know what any of these terms mean,
no,
really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here to release you from the prison of your mind, actually, by releasing that stuff that's keeping you stuck emotionally in your unconscious mind. Now, personally, from my experience, if you've been seeing someone 7 years and the change hasn't happened, then I would be looking to change.
Yes.
What is that? Insanity, just doing the same thing time and time again, expecting different results.
Exactly.
Is that what Einstein said?
He did, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that the whole industry is bad, but
not at all.
Yeah.
But it depends. What I would say, guys, it depends what you're looking for from your coach or therapist. What is it that you want? In fact, I had a good example. Actually, I choose not to work with children. I've got 2 of my own. They're more than enough work for me to work with. But on occasions, I will work with the children of clients of mine because they won't undo the great work that I do with their children. Whereas, I'll give you an example. So a young chap was sent to me, he was 12 years old, and his mother's a client of mine. And she goes, please, would you speak to him? He's basically not able to manage his anger. And he's going to get in a bit of trouble at school about it. And I said, absolutely, bring him round. So he came round and I explained to him psychoeducation. I explained about his 3 minds, how they work. I explained to him about his conscious mind, his unconscious mind, and his higher conscious mind. All of this, and then we did some hypnotherapy, some visualization, all of this sort of stuff. Very bright boy. And anyway, the school then demanded that he went to see a psychotherapist, okay, because they've got the report and all of this sort of thing.
Yeah, it's part of the medical industry,
Correct.
So it's insurance
Correct.
covered, etc.
Correct.
Yeah.
So he did. So he went and had an hour session with this person. And when he came out, his mother said, but I did say to the mother, anything we discuss is confidential. I know you trust me. Unless there's something he's going to do, then I will tell you. But other than that, leave him with me because he needs to feel confident. I'm not going to tell mum and dad what's going on. Anyway, so he came out of the psychologist's meeting room and the mother said to him, so how did this session differ from Mary? So when he was in the session with me, he said to me, but Mary, everything you're telling me is what they don't tell us at school. They don't teach us at school. And I went, I know, and that's why you're lucky enough to be here. So you'll now know. And he said, after psychology goes, when I went with Mary, it was all about the brain and working things through and changing things. All this person was keep talking about what happened the whole time.
Yeah.
Replaying it. And again, I agree with it. Not everyone. And for some people, maybe that's what it needs.
Yeah.
But for me, energy flows where attention goes.
Yes.
If we keep talking about the horrible things that are happening to us or happening to us, yes, they need to be released, okay? Totally. All the energy is going there. I want to go, right, that has happened. And I've had clients, and horrible things have happened. But we don't want to bring that into our future. So now let's deal with that, absolutely. But what do you want instead?
Yeah.
Let's put your energy into what you want, because what we focus on is what we'll find.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I would totally agree. The difference between coaching and traditional talk therapy is really about looking to the future.
Correct.
Versus digging around in the past.
Correct. Yeah.
I do feel that some of the conversations may be similar, but
Yes,
with
I do.
coaching, you're focusing on the future. And if you're struggling to get there at times because there's something in the past, then we can maybe deal with that as it comes up.
Correct.
But as it comes up, I always feel it should be client-led, as opposed to you sit down, so tell me about the relationship with your mum. Why is, straight away going for the jugular. Yeah, the client knows there's something horrible in the middle of that onion and it's really spicy. Doesn't mean we should be going there straight away.
And actually, as you maybe found as well, Alex, when you do all the other softer stuff around it, I mean, let's talk about hypnotherapy, for example. We're hypnotizing ourselves all the time. Every time we're talking about stuff, I tell ourselves things that can work or things can't work. And one of my favorite phrases are, words are like magic. That's why it's called spelling. So what hexes and what spells we're putting on ourselves.
Yeah, interesting. I was thinking about when you said that, when I hypnotize myself.
We do it all the time, unconsciously.
Yeah, the subconscious tape player going over and over
Yep.
again. So I've got some stats here, which I thought was quite easy, which I just looked at this morning. And I want to compare physical exercise versus mental and emotional exercise. So in Singapore, the latest MOH study suggests that 75% of Singaporeans engage in one activity a week, one sporting activity, or running or cycling or swimming or something like that. 75% is quite high. But then I was thinking, wonder how many exercise their brains and their minds. And I'm not talking about doing the crossword or Sudoku or something. We're talking about really actively working on your mental health, right? Couldn't find any data. So I had a look in America, right? In America, it's about 9% of Americans. So it's quite high. They are a lot more open, I feel, in America, talking about their problems than in Asia. But also, they have 7 times more therapists in America than they do in Singapore. So extrapolating kind of backwards, my guess is there's about 1% of people seek some kind of support, whereas there's 75% of people engage in activity. Could be exaggerating a bit there, but this is bonkers, right, when you think about it, because we are physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual beings, right? And we'll put so much effort into the physical side, but not the mental side. So my question, I'm sure you've got something to say, but I want to say...
I have to say something. Go on.
Yeah. And I'm going to finish out and say, how do we encourage more people to work on the mind, right?
Okay. So one thing I'd have to, what I'd be really curious about in the stats, both for Singapore and America or another, and how many people are on drugs. How many people are on depression, antidepressant, painkillers? Because actually, they're the ones that are taking something again, but need to go and see a therapist. Because I really believe in skills, not pills.
Yeah. You mean on medically prescribed drugs?
Correct.
Or are you also including...
cannabis or whatever.
Tobacco, alcohol...
we could go on
and then we can
for
look into materialism, right? Because these are all dopamine hits,
They're all
right?
dopamine hits. You're so right.
Social media.
Yeah, but even if we did the medical one, like from the pharmaceuticals, for example, even if we took those stats as well.
Everyone who's got a Louis Vuitton bag is just switched off now.
You can buy the Prada bag.
Thrown it at me.
No, but I said you can buy the Prada bag, of course. It will give you a bit of happiness and joy for about 5 minutes. Yeah. You know, invest that money in your mind, and you know what? You'll be happy for much longer. Being a human being working
all
progress.
My friends have got one. God, that's rude. Go on.
Yeah, so what was your question there?
How
can we get more people to do it?
Yeah.
I think, okay, so first, people need to understand that it's a positive thing, not a negative thing.
Yeah.
It's okay for us to help. And that's that vulnerability thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay for us to help. And, you know, if you want to be the best version of you, whatever that is, then the mind and body are not connected. They're aligned. And so I think what happened as well a little bit, because in 30 years in the industry, I think some coaching got a bit of a bad rap because everyone was a coach, everyone was doing coaching.
When was this?
But I would say 2010s maybe onwards. And I think that it was so in something you were coached if you were not good at what you did.
Oh, yeah.
So I was brought into corporations and said, look, and I learned. Sometimes you just have to do it to get the learning. And I found out afterwards that the company were always using me as a last resort. It's like they're useless. We haven't managed them properly. They wouldn't admit that. We'll bring Mary in, and if Mary can't make it work, then it's not going to work. But we've done our very best. So it was given a bad... So you went to see the coach because you're on your way out.
The managers outsourced it because they were crap managers.
Correct. And I got caught in that at that time. And then I learned, no. So I set the boundaries very, very different once I got the learning on that. So I think now the education needs to be, if you've got a coach, that means you believe in yourself. 2, you are worth investing in yourself. All my clients, not all, that's not true. 95% of my clients, so 98% are recommended. 95% of my clients are self-funded. It's a gift to themselves because they know they can be better and different in whatever they want to do. In organisations, and it's great there's coaches, and some of them do some great jobs, but there's always that confidentiality. Are they really going to not tell my boss?
Yes.
Are they really? I'm not going to tell you my deepest darkest fears because I don't know who you're going to be talking to at the coffee machine later on today. So that independency that you offer as a coach is invaluable.
Yeah.
Invaluable.
No, I totally agree. I've spoken to several clients who could have gone to see someone in their organisation.
Correct.
They just didn't feel comfortable.
No.
I'm sure it's 100% confidential. No one's
Correct.
going to say anything, but they just didn't feel comfortable.
And also, I think, like the further, like my clients, the further up the tree you are, the less you want to do that, the more you need the outside influence.
Yeah. I wonder if the further up the tree you are, the more you are, the more likely you are to be stuck. Because in order to climb the ladder of career prosperity, you maybe had to sacrifice something to get there.
And
right?
also, there's a book by Marshall Goldsmith, and it says, what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good adage to understand. And there's stuff that needs to be let go. Yeah, there could be regret. There could be, as you know, probably a lot of people aren't very well because they've sacrificed their health to get the career progression. All good, normally for good things to pay for the family and the school fees and all those sort of things. Yeah.
That's
Positive
our
intention.
kind of client.
Correct.
The ones that are successful on the career side of things don't really need any help. They're making enough, you know what I mean?
Correct.
All their problems are first world problems, but they've neglected all the other bits. And they know it. These are not stupid people, right? They totally know. But it's just so hard to get started. So we can help point them in the right direction, whether that is.
Correct. How do we make it easy for them? And like there are, as I said, there's lots of different.
Do you believe that's important to make it easy for people to make the first step?
Oh, totally. So a lot of my clients say, I'm going to send my husband to you or my wife to you. And I say, they've got to come.
Yes.
They've got to want to do it. I say, and they've gone, I'll gift it to them as their Christmas present. No. No.
Didn't work,
they've got to want to come and the time's got to be right. And then you find out it's the right rapport, the right connection. And most people that come my way, we have great rapport and I'm able to help them.
Yeah.
And, the path is different. It's same but different for everybody.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, it's helping you change your thoughts, to change how you feel, to change your behaviours, to get different results.
Yeah. No, I love that you've got to initiate it yourself. I've had a lot of conversation with wives who've wanted who've tried to send only women. No, I don't think any guy has ever tried to send his wife to me, but every try to send the husbands. I was like, look, give him my number, tell him to give me a buzz.
Exactly.
Never do.
Yeah.
So you can't you can't make people as much as I'd love to.
No, I mean I would say also, and I,
because you've got to be aware and willing, right? And maybe they are aware, but not willing. And very rarely do we work with anyone who's not aware.
No, but the willingness is normally from fear, or the lack of willingness is fear. Again, what might come out?
Is that suitable? The willingness. You mean fear is stopping them from being willing?
Yeah. And I say to all my clients,
I've got this on my last point on here is it's less scary than you think.
It is. It is less scary than you think. Yeah. And actually, when you come along and you get the connection that you need, whoever your coach or therapist is, miracles can really happen. You can get some amazing work. And if you see yourself, I always say, you are your best asset. You are your best asset, your mind and your body. And any money or time you spend on developing your mind and your body is always, always, always going to pay dividends.
Yeah, I agree. I love spending money on myself. It's awesome.
I'm very self-full, as I say. Not selfish, but I'm very self-full.
Yeah, I like expensive aftershave. I put in a lot of lotion. No, I'm joking. But I've got I think I have a strength coach, sprinting coach. I've got Elise who can help me with corrective exercise. Life coach. Yeah. So many. Oh, and a business coach. I've got like 5 coaches. But it's all about me, right?
Correct.
Because even the business is an extension of myself.
Absolutely.
So it's all about...
Absolutely.
It's all about me.
Well, I will say as well, part of that as well, because I know you're a father as well running the business. Also, Alex, is your cup is then full. Because you can't pour from an empty cup. And I would suggest there's a high percentage of the population, including those stats that you've mentioned globally, that are trying to live their lives from an empty cup.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. So part of the psychoeducation that I have is self-compassion. Yeah. Let's get you loving yourself first. Let's get you filling your cup first. Because then when you can fill your cup and love yourself and take care of yourself, guess what? All the rest tends to happen.
Yeah. And if you do have an empty cup and you do have kids, they're just going to end up mirroring what you do because that's how they've...
Exactly.
And so you really want to, if you want them to repeat what you repeat, then fine. But if you're not 100% happy with yourself, they're not going to be 100% happy with themselves when they're older because they're just going to follow you. I learned so much from my son. So much.
Yeah. They are the best teachers.
Unbelievable.
The best teachers.
It was when he was about 2 and I remember he started doing some stuff. I was thinking, oh my God, he's just doing what I'm doing. Do I do that? Yeah.
They're little mirrors, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just fantastic.
Yeah. So mine are teenagers. So I'm the cringe mum at the moment. Lots of eyeball rolling, and they call me positive boho. But like some of those seeds are dropping off. My daughter in the car picked up from school the other day, and she's just turned 14, and she went, "Oh, Mum, I turned into a bit of you today at school." And I went, "Oh, really? What was that then?" And she said, "We're in the English class, and the English teacher was saying this is just theory. This is just theory. But some people think black cats are unlucky." And she goes, and I went, "But they could be lucky." Yeah. I went, "That's my girl."
Yeah. Great
reframe.
Always look on the bright side of life. Monty Python, Life of Brian.
Correct.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So going back to your question, though, how can we make it easier for them? I think that's a really, really good question, because how can we make it easier for them? Doing things like this, I think, helps.
Yeah.
Normalize it. It's a bit. I was doing my masterclass this morning, all about navigating life's crossroads. And the first initial part of it was getting people to just understand, as a collective, everybody, probably from the age of 6 or 7 upwards, has an internal dialogue. And just normalising that. Everyone's got those voices in their head, and I gave them some practical tools then to help with that. But just normalising internal dialogue helps go, oh, so it's just not me who thinks I'm always talking bad to myself or good to myself, depending on how you're using your internal voice. That in itself, so normalising, I love the movement on mental well-being now. Like, we're normalising it, menopause, we're normalising it.
Yeah.
So the more we normalise it, that this is, you're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you, but you don't need to suffer, you don't need to be in pain.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really important. Menopause is a nightmare. It's another one to get through, and I'm not even a woman, and I really feel that way.
But at least people are talking about it now, which is great.
Yeah, it can be really tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think you're exactly right, and for me again, it goes back to this main difference between psychotherapy, counsellors, therapy, psychiatrists, and coaching. Coaching is generally client-led. It's about you. So if you are scared to talk about certain things which are buried, that you don't want to go there, a good coach is not going to bring it up. Not going to bring it up.
Unless,
what do you want to...
Unless it manifests throughout the journey, because the trust has grown, your confidence has grown, and therefore, I know I'm good enough, I'm happy to talk about X.
Exactly, but it will still be client-led.
Correct.
They'll be the one that will bring it up, right?
Correct.
And that's exactly been my experience when it's saying, if he'd have said that, I would have definitely... but I might not have been so comfortable talking about it. And then they go, what's on your mind today, Alex? It's like, I want to talk about this issue.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Correct. I'm ready.
Open up the box, pull out the big hairy gorilla.
But I've got my own methodology now, which won't surprise you after doing it 30 years.
Yeah.
And, part of my process is I will until I've got a client to a certain point, with building their resources and making sure they've got that confidence, they've got that courage, we've built their resilience, only then would I even start about doing removal work, as I call it. So I'm sometimes called the Marie Kondo of coaching.
Yes.
I leave you with your joy and take away all your crap. So I wouldn't start delving into that unless they want, unless they brought it up before, because I want to make sure that you're in a confident, courageous, brave, self-acceptant place, and only then would I even go down that avenue, even if they brought it up before.
Yeah.
Because you can't take something away if you haven't given them something. You have to give them something to hold on to first. It's so important in the process of coaching, and how it's handled is critical.
Yeah, exactly right. That's fantastic. So it's been really good to have you on. I'm just going to finish up because I'm asking everyone this question.
Oh, I love this.
What are your 3 health and fitness tips, mental wellness tips, anything? 3 tips that our audience can take away with today. It can be anything you like. Eat your greens, whatever you like.
I have to be honest, I have so many. I'm going to try and pick my top 3. Okay, my top 3. So if I was going to say what my top 3 well-being tips or mental well-being tips are, 1 would have to be yoga.
Okay.
I love my yoga.
Is that a yin yoga or
I
sort of
do
more exercisey?
Iyengar yoga, which is very much alignment, which is the business I'm in.
Okay.
Alignment, mind, body, spirit, prop-based, accessible to everybody. I'm a trained yoga teacher myself, but I don't teach yoga. But I actually am a student of Iyengar yoga and have been for 15, 16 years. So yoga, without a doubt, because it's the breath work and all of that, the pranayama that goes in there. Diet, for sure. I'm a vegetarian. Bit more of a pescatarian because I live in Portugal, they have beautiful fish. But in the main, 99% of the time, I'm a vegetarian. And so I do love my greens and my broccoli and my green tea and my water and all of that. So it would be yoga for the body. It would be greens for the body as well, and movement. And then I am a massive, massive person who loves gratitude. So I have been keeping gratitude journals for decades now. And one of the first things I would do, I try, even if I can do it for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, with busy working mum, I will write down a minimum of 5 things that I'm grateful for every single day. And even when my babies were young and I was so tired going to bed because I was so exhausted, I'll just do them on my fingers to go, right, okay, five, like what things I do. So there's some of my top tips that keep me with lots of energy and vitality.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, I started my first gratitude journal in during COVID.
Oh, nice.
And I even remember reading, they said that even if you feel really grumpy and you can't think of anything to be grateful for, the act of trying to think of something to be grateful for will bring your vibrational
and
frequency
the science proves
up.
that. Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So awesome. Thank you very much, Mary. I'm going to shake your hand.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah,
Thank you. Absolute joy and pleasure. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being asked.
Thanks very much.